The bottle shattered against the brick wall like my heart had just done. Shards of glass exploding into the rain like brittle stars falling too soon. "I can't do this anymore, Aiden," Matthias choked out, his voice raw over the storm's howl, eyes wild with something I'd never seen in them. Terror, or maybe truth. In that split second, as the downpour plastered his shirt to his chest, he grabbed my face and kissed me, hard and hungry, tasting of whiskey and the lies we'd both swallowed for years. That night in Seattle's relentless November rain wasn't the beginning. But God, it felt like the end of everything I'd built to protect myself. I'd known Matthias since we were kids scraping knees on the cracked sidewalks of our rundown Tacoma neighborhood, back when the biggest drama was sneaking beers from his dad's garage and dreaming about escaping to the city lights. He was the golden boy, captain of the high school football team, the guy every girl whispered about in the hallways, with that easy grin and those hazel eyes that crinkled like he was in on some cosmic joke. Me? I was the quiet one, the artist sketching graffiti on abandoned warehouses, the kid who came out at 16 and watched half our friends scatter like leaves in the wind. But Matthias stayed. He was my anchor, the straight best friend who punched a bully square in the jaw for calling me a slur, who showed up at my first Pride parade with a rainbow flag he'd borrowed from his sister's room, acting like it was no big deal. We moved to Seattle together after college, chasing that hazy promise of reinvention in the Emerald City. I crashed on his couch while I hustled freelance graphic design gigs. He landed a spot as a junior architect at a firm downtown, drawing blueprints for condos that gleamed like they could fix all the broken things in the world. Our apartment overlooked Puget Sound, with fog rolling in like a daily reminder that some truths stayed shrouded. Nights blurred into rituals. Take-out Thai from the corner spot, binge-watching old noir films until the credits rolled. Him sprawled on the floor with a beer, me curled on the couch sketching his profile when he wasn't looking. I told myself it was just friendship, the kind that runs deeper than blood. But every time his knee brushed mine during a laugh, or he'd sling an arm around my shoulders after a rough day, my pulse betrayed me. I buried it, though. Matthias was straight as the Space Needle's arrow. Dated a string of women who adored his charm, from the barista with the nose ring to the lawyer who dragged him to galas. He talked about them like conquests, but there was always this undercurrent, a hesitation in his stories, like he was reciting lines from a script he didn't quite believe. The cracks started showing last summer, during that godforsaken heat wave that turned the city into a steam bath. We'd hit our favorite dive, the Rusty Anchor, a hole in the wall in Capitol Hill where the jukebox spun Johnny Cash and the regulars nursed grudges like fine wine. Matthias had just broken things off with Lena, his latest, some yoga instructor who'd accused him of being emotionally unavailable. He slammed back shots like they were apologies, ranting about how he was done with relationships, how maybe he was meant to be alone. I nodded, nursing my IPA, but inside I was screaming. Alone? With me right there, loving him in silence? It was torture, the kind that builds slow like pressure under a fault line. "You ever think about it, man?" He slurred one night, leaning too close over the sticky bar top, his breath warm against my ear. What if I wasn't, straight? My heart jackhammered. I laughed it off, punched his arm lightly. "You're drunk, Maddie. Stick to football highlights." But his eyes lingered, dark and searching, before he pulled back with a forced chuckle. That was the first betrayal. Not his words, but the way he let the moment die, leaving me to drown in the what-ifs. Fall brought worse. He started seeing Sarah, this poised editor from his firm, all sharp bob and sharper wit. She was perfect on paper. Shared his love for indie bands, dragged him to poetry slams where he'd whisper the lines back to her like secrets. I watched them at our apartment parties, her hand on his thigh, his laugh brighter than it ever was with me. Jealousy gnawed at me like rust on rebar, but I played the supportive friend, toasting their happily ever after with a smile that tasted like ash. One night, after they'd stumbled in from a date, flushed and giggling, I excused myself to the balcony, staring at the fairy lights cutting through the black water. Matthias followed, closing the sliding door on Sarah's chatter. "You okay, Aid?" he asked, voice soft, like he could hear my fractures. "Yeah," I lied, lighting a cigarette I didn't even want. Just happy for you. He stepped closer, the city hum vibrating between us. For a heartbeat, I thought he'd say it. Admit the charade. Pull me into the truth we'd both circled for years. Instead, he clapped my shoulder. Too hard. Like sealing a vault. You're the best, man. Don't know what I'd do without you. Betrayal number 2. Using my love as a crutch while building walls higher. By November, the rain had settled in like an uninvited guest, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. Sarah was talking rings. Matthias was talking escape. We'd argue in whispers. Me accusing him of settling. Him snapping that I didn't get it. That love wasn't some fairy tale for guys like us. Guys like us.
Ide aku, bite.
You mean straight guys who get the white picket fence? He'd storm out, slamming the door, and I'd pace the apartment, sketching feverishly. His face fractured into 1,000 versions. Boyish grin, drunken gaze, the man who'd kissed me in my dreams 100 times. The night it all broke was Black Friday. The city bloated with shoppers and regret. Sarah had dragged him to some holiday market downtown, but he'd bailed early, texting me, "Bar. Now, bring mercy." I found him at the Rusty Anchor, hunched over a whiskey neat, the jukebox crooning Tom Waits like a dirge. She proposed a timeline, he muttered as I slid onto the stool beside him. Kids. Suburbs. The whole American dream. His voice cracked on dream. And I saw it then, the mask slipping, revealing the boy who'd cried in my arms after his mom left when we were 12. We drank to forget, shots chasing memories until the room tilted. Outside, the rain lashed the windows like accusations. "Why do you do it, Maddie?" I finally asked, the words spilling out slurred and sharp. "Pretend? For them? For Dad's ghost." He froze, glass midway to his lips. His dad, the mill worker who'd called him soft for drawing with me, who died clutching a Bible and a bottle. Matthias set the glass down, deliberate. "Because it's safe, Aiden. Because if I admit it." He trailed off, eyes dropping to the scarred bar top. "Admit what?" I pressed, my voice a whisper shout over the din. The bar emptied slowly, patrons scattering into the night, leaving us in a bubble of stale smoke and unspoken sins. He stood abruptly, tossing bills on the bar. "Walk with me." We stumbled into the alley behind the place. The rain a cold slap awakening nothing but the ache. That's when it happened. The bottle from his hand, hurled in fury at the wall, exploding like my restraint. "I can't do this anymore," he gasped. And then he was on me, hands framing my face, lips crashing against mine with the force of a dam breaking. Time fractured. His kiss was fire and flood, desperate, tasting of salt and surrender. I kissed back, years of longing pouring out, my fingers tangling in his wet hair. But beneath the heat was terror. His body trembled, not with passion, but with the war inside him. He pulled away first, gasping, forehead pressed to mine. "Aiden, God, I've wanted this, since we were kids, but I can't. Sarah, my job, everyone, they'll see me as broken." The word hit like a gut punch. "Broken? You're not broken?" I snarled, shoving him back against the bricks, rain streaming down my face. "You're terrified. Of what? Losing the straight guy medal? I've loved you through every lie, Maddie. Every girl, every dodge. And you let me think I was alone in it." His face crumpled, a sob tearing free. "I know. I betrayed you, us, every damn day. Thought if I just pushed it down, it'd go away. But it doesn't. It never has." He slid down the wall, knees buckling, the mighty Matthias reduced to a boy in the mud. I knelt beside him, the puddle soaking through my jeans, and held him as he broke open, stories spilling like the rain. Stolen glances in locker rooms, nightmares of his dad's disapproval, the quiet hookups in college he'd drowned in shame. Betrayals layered upon betrayals, not just to me, but to himself. We sat there until the storm eased to a drizzle, the alley silent save for his ragged breaths. Dawn crept in gray and unforgiving, painting the shards at our feet in pale light. "What now?" I whispered, my heart a battlefield, love warring with the hurt. He looked at me, eyes red-rimmed but clear for the first time. I end it with Sarah, today, and I face it, all of it, with you if you'll have me. But Aiden, this isn't a fairy tale. It'll hurt. My family's from old Tacoma stock. They'll call it a phase or worse. Work. Friends. Hell. The world. I nodded, the weight settling. Then we hurt together. But no more hiding. Promise me. Promise. His hand found mine, fingers lacing tight. Not as friends, but as something raw and real. The months that followed were no Hollywood montage. He told Sarah over coffee in a park, her tears mixing with the ever-present mist. She slapped him, called him a coward, and I wanted to hate her but couldn't. Betrayal echoes. His parents froze him out at Christmas. Dad's voice crackling over the phone. This ain't us, son. Work whispers turned to sidelong stares. A promotion slipped away like smoke. Matthias unraveled some nights, pacing our apartment, whiskey bottle in hand again, but I'd pull him back. Talks till sunrise, sketches of us as warriors in a kinder world. Therapy sessions where he learned to name the fear without letting it win. Me? I learned forgiveness isn't a switch, but a slow thaw. The jealousy faded into something fiercer. Pride in the man emerging from the wreckage. We fought, over his lingering doubts, my sharp words, but made up with quiet truths. Walks along the waterfront where fairies cut the sound like hope. 1 year on, that alley feels like a scar, tender but healed. We're not married, not yet. Too American in our messiness for that. But last week, under the same flickering neon, he dropped to one knee in the drizzle, ring glinting like a dare. Be my mess, Aiden? He asked, voice steady. I pulled him up, kissed him slow. Always was. In the end, it's not the kiss that haunts me, but the man who chose truth over the lie. Seattle's rains still fall, washing away the old, but they can't touch what we've built. Two souls, scarred and straight. No, bent toward each other. In a city that taught us love isn't straight lines, but the courage to curve through the storm.